Hello, Senator Kennedy.
Hello, Charles. How are you?
Pretty well, thank you. We've been having a very pleasant visit with your ladies.
Very good.
They're good company. I know you've had to be away from them for more than you like for a good many months now, but I don't suppose a successful politician can be one without giving up something of his personal life, can he?
No, I ran in 7 primaries this winter, and now, of course, we've engaged in a great contest this fall, so that we'll know in November what the future holds for our public and personal life.
Politics is a tremendous challenge. Was it family tradition that made you take up that challenge?
Well, there was the war, and I also grew up in a family atmosphere, as you suggest. My father was active in the Roosevelt administration, my grandfather in Congress, another grandfather in the state Senate, so that the family conversation was always around public affairs. And when the war ended, I was at loose ends and, of course, vitally concerned about the United States. And I had an opportunity to run, and I ran, and that's 14 years ago. And I must say, I think it is the most rewarding of all professions.
Did you always want to go into politics, or as a boy, did you ever want to be a fireman or a streetcar conductor or something like that?
Well, I never wanted to be in politics until really almost the time I ran. I was always interested in writing. I wanted to teach for a while. And then I thought maybe I'd work in the government in some career service. So that really the war changed my life, and I suppose if it hadn't been for that and what happened then, I suppose I would have gone on with my original plans.
Changed a lot of people's lives. When did you decide you wanted to run for the presidency, Senator?
Well, after 1956, I was a candidate for the vice presidency against Estes Kefauver. He beat me by about 20 votes at the convention. And then after the Democrats lost in '56, I began to think that maybe I would run in 1960, and began to work weekends traveling around the United States, and finally decided in '58 that I would run, '59, and then I chose the primary route. So it's been a long and arduous 4 years.
It has indeed. Who were some of your teachers in the fine art of politics, and what special lessons did you learn from them?
Experience is the best teacher in all these matters. But my father was always active in political life. My grandfather, I spent an awful lot of time with him when I was young. And then observation. I think politics has changed a good deal since the Second War. The issues are very sophisticated now and complex, and the style has changed. My grandfather was successful, but he was really the more traditional type of political leader.
That's your grandfather, Fitzgerald.
That's right.
And he was a sort of flamboyant politician, wasn't he?
Yes, he was really had I suppose in some ways he was more equipped for it than I was, at least one phase of it. But that style has changed now. Now the problems are terribly important. Everyone in the United States is concerned with what happens in government life, and therefore I think what they're interested in is work and results, and not so much interested in the old style campaigning and the old style public personalities.
Do you like it better this way?
What happens to suit me better.
What do you like most about this great and serious business of politics?
Well, I think everyone has strong feelings about what we ought to do in foreign affairs and domestic affairs. Well, now, I've been on the Labor Committee and Public Welfare Committees for 14 years, and I'm now on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. In fact, I'm chairman of the subcommittee on Africa of the Foreign Relations Committee. Well, I think that any American who has a strong desire to see his country prosper and be at peace, we have a chance to do something about it. Maybe it's marginal, maybe it's direct, but at least we play a role. I was on the Rackets Committee for 3 years in the Senate. I think we made it uncomfortable for a good many racketeers. We made it uncomfortable for Jimmy Hoffa and some of the others. So we have a chance to put our interest and concern and bring some results from it.
Let me turn that question around. What are the things about politics that you like the least?
Well, I suppose I'm away from home a lot, and it's exhausting work, and it's a terribly involved and life, and the pressures are tremendous, and the responsibilities are great. I'm the standard bearer for the oldest political party in the United States and one of the oldest in the world now. Now, that's a great responsibility. I like to feel that I can meet it, but the pressure is tremendous. And of course, the higher you rise, the pressures and responsibilities mount with them. So I carry heavy burdens right now.
What suggestions would you have for youngsters who would like to go into politics?
Well, the way to go in is to go in. I would feel that any young boy or girl, and the age really, they can begin at an early age. And in fact, when I ran for the Senate in 1952, we had the help of a good many boys and girls, 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17. The fact is that 90% of the tasks in politics can be done by anyone from 15 to 80. And that is writing letters, doing telephoning, working at headquarters, delivering material, ringing doorbells. Young people, women, men, older people can do that just as well as the most skilled politician. And in fact, in many cases, are willing to do it when politicians are not. So I would say the time to participate is any time.
Have you ever thought, Senator, what you might have liked to do if you hadn't gone into politics, besides practicing law and teaching, writing, as you suggested
No,
earlier?
I think that I would have done one of those professions, or worked in the government in some career service, maybe in the State Department or in some... I would have gone into some kind of public work, public service, but I'm delighted that I was able to do it this way.
Would it take a major speech to have you tell us what you consider the principal qualities of political leadership?
No, I think that the principal qualities is to have some vision into the future about what you want this country to do, and then have an ability to communicate that vision or those goals. I think that Wilson and Franklin Roosevelt did that particularly well. They set the public interest before the people, the unfinished business. Actually, only the president can do that. I'm really just a senator from Massachusetts, and other senators represent their states, and governors do, and congressmen. But the president represents Massachusetts, California, and Hawaii. He, therefore, at the center of our constitutional system, the leader of the majority party, the leader of the country, is able to make a judgment as to what the country must do, what the public interest requires, and then I think ask the people to do it. And I don't think the people have ever failed to respond to that kind of leadership.
Well, that's a pretty important recipe which you've just outlined. What do you think are the qualities in a president which makes him a great president?
Well, I think that, of course, great times make great presidents and great men. That is a factor. Washington, Lincoln, Wilson, Roosevelt, I think that they lived in times of crisis and met the crisis. In addition, I would say vitality. Theodore Roosevelt had that, so did Jefferson. A sense of the future and the past, and a wide cultural experience, which makes it possible for them to draw on the lives of other men and the experiences of other men to apply it to a particular situation. Moral courage, a sense of the future, a sense of the past, physical vitality, intellectual curiosity, and purpose. I would say those are the qualities.
You spoke of the background, the wide cultural background. You had that, of course, and you also grew up under rather favored circumstances. What was it in your early life that led you to take the social stands that you've taken and that you're running on now? How did your social conscience develop?
Well, I represented at the end of the, when I first went into Congress in 1946, I represented a district that was very poor in Massachusetts. My grandfather had represented it 50 years before. My father had come out of that district, and so had my mother. We had many problems, housing, many families were in need of assistance. I think that the experience of representing and therefore working for people, first in that district for 6 years, then in Massachusetts, I think that as you become the representative of the people, their spokesman, it seems to me that you have to recognize that there is an obligation to help people who either because they need good schools if they're young, or because they're sick when they're old, because their housing is inadequate, that need assistance. And therefore, my viewpoint on the necessity for social legislation came really pragmatically, through just observation. I think it's the only way that you can maintain a free society is to meet the needs of the people. Provide an atmosphere where the economy can function and also meet the needs of the people.
During this campaign, Senator, you've spoken a good deal about your vision of America, what you think America stands for, what you want it to do. Do you feel that you're getting a response from the people who are listening to you to that line?
Yes, I think there's a tremendous idealistic concept of the United States held by Americans. Theodore Roosevelt struck the note, and so did Woodrow Wilson, especially at the beginning of this century. And we've had it ever since. I think there's a strong devotion to this country, a strong sense of public purpose by the American people. And I think that they're concerned with that our generation maintains the power and influence of the United States. It isn't really just our country. We also serve the cause of freedom, and if we do well, the cause of freedom prospers, because we carry that banner. Communists carry another banner, hostile to us. If their society moves and ours stands still, they serve their cause. I want our cause to be served, and I think only the United States can serve it at this particular time in history, and I think the American people feel that.
Senator Kennedy, I remember that you suffered during the primaries, and I think not too long ago, about the worst ill that can befall a candidate when you lost your voice during the campaigns. How did that happen, and what can you do to prevent an occurrence of it?
Well, I suppose the human voice isn't meant to shout around the hills of West Virginia and the plains of Wisconsin month after month, 9, 10, 15 times a day, so that sooner or later it gave out, but probably that's just nature's way of telling you you've talked too much.
Do the doctors think that it's going to be
I guess we're all right, but it's hard work, but silence won't bother the country if I lose it again for a few days. I have my daughter here.
Oh, there's Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
Daddy, to read you a story?
Thank you. Come on over here.
Sit on this. Give these books to him, all right. Which one do you want him to read? That one?
What's that one? That looks like a good one.
What's the name of that book?
That's Turkish fairy tales. Do you want to come up here? Read it? Hey, girl.
Mrs. Kennedy, Senator, your family is going to increase very shortly. Have you given any thought to what you're going to do about the nursery and that sort of thing?
Well, it's pink now, so I might have to change the color a little, but I think because I'm talking on television. I think it's a great mistake to set your mind that you want either a girl or a boy, because it's so unfair to the baby. I'll be delighted with whatever I have.
Have you got any names picked out?
Well, if it's a son, I think he should be named after his father. And a girl, I'll decide when I see her.
How does that fit with you, Senator?
That's fine.
Want to take it off?
Boy or girl, very good. If we have a girl, I just soon have another one.
Well, you've got an awful nice one there.
Would Daddy read it? Would you read it, Daddy?
Well, if you want the one with
Senator and
pictures.
Mrs. Kennedy, it's been very good of you to let us come by and call on you today. Thank you very much.
Well, it's been a great pleasure, Charles. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you,
Goodbye,
Charles.
Caroline.
This one. Which one do you want?